Good morning. I'm Cheryl Turnois, and this is the Thinking Woman's Mensch podcast. I am so glad that you decided to join me and my guest today. My guest is the brother to the infamous Larry Davis. Some of us know the story, some of us do not. But before I introduce him to you, I want to know, where were you in 1986? That's the crucial year that he became known world over. So if my brother was alive, my big brother, he would be so proud that I am having the privilege to talk with Larry's brother, because I'm sure my brother was very much aware of this in 1986. So I am pleased to introduce to you the story of Larry Davis, told by his brother, Donald Davis. Good morning, Donald. How you doing?
I'm making it by the grace of God and hope the same for you and your loved ones.
Amen. And we are. So I'm glad to hear that. And like I said, in your ear on the phone, I'll say it now in front of the audience that we will receive now and later too. Thank you for this privilege to be able to interview you. I appreciate it so much. You know, I asked the audience, where were they in 1986? Let me say to you, Donald, for me, in 1986, while your brother was 20 years old, I was 27. And at 27, for me, I had bought a home with my mother. And the year later, at 28, I moved to California. I don't remember the story of your brother, Larry, at all. So for me, I had to do the research, and did I find it so interesting? So there's a few questions I first want to do in order to make sure that we know who you are. First of all, I am always impressed with any guest that says, listen, don't give me any questions up front. I love that. Since I've been doing this, very few people are free to do that. So my hat's off to you. My first question to you would be, were you and Larry full siblings? And once you answer, I will tell you why I'm asking.
Absolutely. We was that was the baby out of 10 boys. I'm next to the baby.
All right. I'm
Next to
glad.
him.
I'm sorry. Continue. I didn't hear you.
Next to him. I was
Uh-huh.
next to him as the boys. And
All
then
right.
I have a little sister.
Okay. The reason why I first thought to ask you that, because as full siblings living under the same roof, you may have a different experience than being half siblings and not living under the same roof. The experience could be different. So as I ask you different questions, right, then you will know him because your life, your experience is under the same roof. What's the
Absolutely.
what's the age difference between you and Larry?
I'm 63. Larry was 5 years younger than me.
5 years younger than you. All right.
Yes.
You were about to say something.
No, that's basically it. He was the baby boy.
Okay. Yes, and I read that he was the youngest. Is it 13 children that was in total, or 19? There's two different schools of
Yeah,
thoughts about that.
it was a total of 19 with miscarriages and stuff like that. But
Yes.
other than that, it was total of 19, but I think 15 lived.
Yes. And born in the Carolinas, am I correct?
No, I was born in the Bronx. Larry was born in the Bronx. My little sister was born in the Bronx. Most of us, the older ones, was born in like the South.
Yes. Well, that's the reason why I asked because, when you're researching something, there are so many outlets. So I want to make sure that what I read, and I read so much, I want to make sure what I'm correct on. So, Brother Larry was born May of 1966. Is that correct?
I believe it was. You're
Okay.
correct.
Well, you may be like my siblings, okay? Somebody don't know somebody's birthday. But for
That's
the
right.
audience, he was born May 1966. So before we start talking about him and the world that happened regarding him, I'd like to know about who he was as a child. And as a child, let me ask you, what was his demeanor?
Mm. Oh, only a person can answer that really is Larry, but he's not here, so I have to assume he was a loving, caring, sharing, thoughtful individual that thought about people in a way that, if he loved you, he loved you. If he know you were a snake, he cut off your head. And he was just, we was all born as God-fearing individuals. And my mother was very, very strict on all of us. My father was too, and they they put discipline into our lives to let them know what was right and what was wrong. And Larry knew what right was right and wrong was wrong. He knew, I knew, everybody in my family knew. But we chose, like children, we choose our own path to find out the hard way sometimes.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Now, the reason why I asked about his demeanor is for two different reasons. One, let me say to you, I worked before for a psychiatrist when I lived in Chicago, and he was a Black man who owned an office, and he was in the head psychiatrist over 10 other ones. And
Right,
all of
right.
them had different specialties, but his focus was on the Black male when he is reaching puberty. And so he would argue the point that many of them that run into troubled times, it is based on the fact that by the time they reach puberty, the way the world received them and all that, their mental status is somewhat confused and they have to work through that. So that's why I was asking what was his demeanor as a boy. The other reason why I asked is because in the research, he had a nickname too as Loco Larry. So people kind of thought he was unbalanced in his demeanor. What say you?
I say, oh, that's funny. I say the reason why Larry was called that because, like I said, he see a snake, he see a snake before it even spit its venom. And Larry was the type, like, you know, most of us people, period, in general, have a gift. My God, we can see things, hear things, know things before it happens. It's unexplainable, but Larry was the type that, oh, that dude ain't no good. He gonna wind up messing up your life later down the line. He'll say this, and that dude he's talking about wind up trying to mess up your life later on down the line.
Yes.
And that I consider that to be a gift, but he knew who was around him. He was a little paranoid. I give him that. He was a little paranoid after he got involved with certain things in the street. But as a kid, he had a drive to music. He loved the music. He made a couple of albums. He loved it. His piano, his organ. He liked it to please people. He was a DJ, and he'll go, take all his speakers. The speakers were so big, you had to get a trolley truck to pick them up. They were so heavy. They was at least 300 pounds. They were so big back then in 1986.
All
And
right.
he loved it. He loved it to please the audience. I think that goes through my whole family because I'm a comedian. I do shows. I have done shows all over the state. And he we all have our entertainment moments in our lives as children or adults. I'm still doing comedy. And I'm 62, 3 years old. But you know, my little brother, he loved it. People. But if he see you trying to mess up his people, he would respond.
All righty. All right. Well, let me say this to you. And you not wanting the questions up front, like I said, I appreciate that. And a lot of times when it's anybody or anything that belong to us, we're so close to the circumstance that we either know deeper into or we just can accept some things. So what you are painting for us thus far is that he had this discernment about people, right? He would he
Yeah,
that's
yes,
a gifted thing, and it is. It's a God gift because everybody do not have discernment about people. So, you know, you
right.
don't have to be standing in a pulpit in order to be somebody who can read folk who
All
come
right,
before you. And when you
right.
speak about his demeanor and when I spoke about what his name was, I think this is all important to who I'm trying to uncover because based on the story, there's things that I learned from him starting at age 15. So if we look at him as the child, we can get some insight, right? So the other thing that I looked at when I did this research, I noticed that Larry didn't have much height. Him not having much height, I want to speak to that because you said he was a people pleaser as well, right? With all this gifting that he had, you said he liked making people happy. So I'm trying to understand where he's coming from because the Bronx in 1986 was deemed a very distressed area among few areas in the United States. So I'm trying to see, is Larry a young man that was a troubled young man versus was he a young man that's just trying to help out the family for quick money? Now, him not having much height, my question to you, was he bothered by his presence? His
I
physical
think
presence, did that play a part to who he is?
Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you perfectly, and I saw you perfectly. You came very close to the camera.
Yours went dim on me. I don't know. I hope you getting this recorded, but I can't hear you that well. It just dropped. The the audio just dropped a little down.
Okay, well, I hear
I
you
don't.
perfect. Can you hear me
Oh,
now?
I can hear you a little, but not the way I was just hearing you.
All right. I have made no changes, moving around or anything.
No, I think I received a call and it took away the value.
Okay. All right. Well, this is what I was asking. When I learned that Larry didn't have much height, was he someone that was bothered as a man about his height?
When you say height, what do you mean?
How tall he was?
Oh, he was shorter than me. I'm 5'6".
This is what I'm asking. Did this have any bearing on his thinking?
Absolutely. My family, my family represent the little folks of America.
I like
and
that. I like that.
and in heart, we are so big.
Yes.
We are so big. Like even myself, we believe we are the biggest things on the planet.
All right.
A bigger person come towards me, and he's smaller than me. In my mind, he's smaller than me. And, we all like, my family grew up as a martial arts instructor. My family grew up fighting. And not fighting for good or bad, but preparing ourselves for the future. As a child, we grew up, kickboxing, judo, kung fu, shadow boxing, 52, any name brand street fighting out there, we did. And we entertained doing it to each other. To each other, we loved it fighting. And we fought well. So we didn't have a problem, as far as being bullied. If anything, we was little bullies, We thought it was a joke as child. We take somebody's candy, take their ice cream. We was kids. But we had fun doing it. Nobody really got hurt because we didn't have no guns.
Yes. That was
We
the
didn't have no,
times.
yeah, that was the time. And, you fist fight, we beat each other up, and we love each other tomorrow. See each other in school.
Yes. I remember
Those were
those times.
those are the times that we had, like a normal child. As far as being local, Larry, no, he was not local. He was a human being that loved the people. And just like I love people, I like to make people laugh. I love to see the joy come out.
Yes.
But if you violate any person, it's only so much what anybody can take.
Amen. I agree with you. Yes. So let's get into the story of him. I think my audience now have enough opinion regarding the boy Larry in order to understand what jumps off from this point. Well, when Donald says that Larry had discernment, he believed that was a gift from God. I'm going to agree with Donald based on this. The write-ups spoke in different articles where he had run-ins with the law way before what happened as early as 1980. He had 6 different times that he created a criminal record and yet had never done any time. When you look at that, somebody could say lucky, but luck have nothing to do with it. So when we unfold what happened, you make your own decision as to how grace was on him until grace removed itself from Larry. So at age 15 is really where we need to start, because in the write-ups, it has everything to do what happened to Larry later on when he's 20. At 15, he declared that dirty cops got him to sell drugs for them. And Larry was known to rob the drug dealers because they could not run and tell the police that they'd been hit, money-wise, robbed. Do I have that correct?
That's what they wrote.
Do I have it correct? Tell us what you know. Could that be the truth, that at 15, dirty cops recruited him to do business for them?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so that's what's written, and that's what Donald is saying took place. Well, see, that's key for what you will learn or remember later regarding this young man. So at 15, this be the case, but somewhere in the mix, the write-up says that he had a change of heart. He no longer wanted to work for the police. Again, when we talk about the Bronx in 1986, you have to imagine that time period. There was a lot of people dying from crack, cocaine. There was a lot of crime going on. So when we paint the picture of who is Larry, we had to know whether or not if he was a boy that was easy to get along with and he just wanted to make quick money, or was he a boy that you couldn't tell nothing to? You know, there's two types, right? There's some who come from a place of pure, they want to help mama, because I read that your father left the home when Larry was 10 years old. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
All
correct.
right. So see, when we speak to trying to unearth who he is as an individual, it gives more insight to why is it that the people of New York deemed him a hero. So 15, that's the case with Donald. So let's go on with, not Donald, with Larry. So let's go on so that Donald can tell us what's correct and color in where it's missing. So this is what you need to know, listening audience. By the time Larry is 20 years old, he now is living this fast life, but yet supposedly he do not want to work for the New York crooked cops. On November of 1986, when he's at his sister's home, a sister's home, she's there, her husband, her children, and he and his girlfriend, Larry and his girlfriend. A knock comes on the door, supposedly. 24 policemen come to the house of his sister. They claim just for questioning. 24 officers come. 9 of them come into the building. 6 of them end up being shot by Larry. You want to paint the picture for me there? This is what I read, Donald. So far, am I reading accurate information?
Yes, you are.
All right. So again, anybody, you stop and think about that. 24 white officers come to your house and they said it's just questioning you. And 9 of them come in while the others get on the fire escape, surround the door, and all of a sudden a shootout happens and Larry shoots 6 white officers, to even shoot one of them in the face, all right? In the face. So when we look at this story, you think to yourself, well, how could he possibly been acquitted for this? You know, I'm a history lover, and this story, Donald, not only is it a part of our American history, but it made history that no one has ever done this thing before. Do you know any other Black man that shot white officers and got acquitted from the crime? Is it anywhere that you've read something like this have happened other than your brother?
Yes,
Did you say yes?
I said yes.
Okay, and for my sake, where else, or bring it to light, who else had this happen to them, that they shot so many white officers and got off for the shooting? As you chew.
I was referring to harming an officer and got away with it. You never heard of anyone harming any officer and got away with it. They either were shot and killed, or even if they attempt to harm an officer, they didn't get away with it. They either got shot and killed or got life in jail, or a lot of at least 25
All right.
years.
So you're agreeing with me. Not only is this a part of history, but it made history because nobody have undone that record as of yet. And so the
No,
city,
far as the shooting part, but you know, the whiplash from Larry, a
I'm not gonna say a lot of people, I know myself, they said I cut a detective's throat from ear to ear. How am I talking to you today if I did all this? And I was found not guilty.
All right. Well, listen, and I'm glad you're here to talk about it. But that's one instance when we're talking about a young Black man that shot 6 white ones.
Right.
And that's a phenomenon. And that was
That is a phenomenon.
that
It's
was truly,
nowhere in history. Africa, I didn't check. Nowhere in history. Africa, Mexico, with the cartels, none of them never did what he did and was found not guilty.
well, that's exactly what I'm saying, that it is history making. So
Yes,
let's go on with what happened. So you ask yourself, listener, how was he able to get away? Because he was able to get away. So let me say what I read, and then Donald would speak to that. So
okay.
when this was happening, all the police around and the shooting that took place, once this action was going on, a gun, a one of the bullets from the gun ricocheted and hit a lock to an adjoining apartment. And it is that apartment that Larry was able to escape from, not seen. It is truly like a movie. Was that data correct as well, Donald?
That was my sister. My sister lived in next door to my other sister.
Yes.
And they locked one of the bullets did open the door, which
Yes.
which he did get away. That that apartment led to a part of the building where police didn't have surround. And how it went down that night, I was there. I was like 5 minutes. I was 5 minutes there before it all happened. And I'm the one, he had no bullets. He had six guns. And I heard that all the police was out hunting for him to kill him and this and that. So he said, he had my mother's 22. And he had one bullet in the 22, just one left. And he said, Donald, I need some bullets, man. I got this. He gave me the name of the guns. I said, yo, I got bullets. I brought him the bullets. 5 minutes after I got home, everybody started, when I got home, I was going up in the private house to open the door, and everybody was running out. They got Larry, they got Larry. I said, they ain't got no Larry, I just left him. But they didn't know what I left. But I left them bullets for each and every gun. And once I did that, everybody ran out and started saying, yo, they got Larry over at Gina's house, my little sister's house.
All right.
And I said to myself, I said, man, nobody, but they followed me there, which they was following me around since the incident happened. And they followed me there, and that's how they came about realizing it's possible he could be there.
Alrighty.
So that's how he became trapped off there.
All right. So let
He
me go
got out.
further. Let me go further. So that being the case, that you're saying that is true about the bullet ricocheting, hitting the lock to the adjoining apartment, he's able to get out unseen, unharmed. Again, when you speak about how he could read people, how he was very much passionate about music, and yet this way of living he was doing, based on, if 15, that information is true, being recruited by the crooked New York policeman. So we're painting this picture. So this happens, he gets away. The manhunt, I read, was an 18-day manhunt. Do not speak to what happened the last day. But I have questions for you to ask. Were you aware where he was hiding when he was out 17 days on the run? Were you in contact with your brother? How did he eat? How did he sleep the 17 days he was at large? What say you?
Yes, I was.
Speak to that. Let us know. How
Yes,
did
I
that turn
was.
out?
I had knowledge of his whereabouts, and I I was never asked. You know, they would just follow me, but I would never ask. But I was never asked it. Do I know where my brother is? Because they knew out of all his brothers, I was the one that be the last one to say something to relating to his whereabouts. But yes, I did know.
All right. So now you knowing into his whereabouts, and that is something that I found interesting because he stayed hidden well for 17 days until he decided to surrender to give himself up. So I read in the research. First of all, let me tell you, forgive these birds over here. They're excited about your brother as well, okay? They're loud. Sometimes they throw me off, so forgive me. But with him being on the run those 17 days, I was just interested in knowing where could he possibly have been hiding out that they could not find him, because every day, audience, so you'll know, while he was on the run, they would send notices to all the states round about New York. I mean, it went as far as Deep South, it went Illinois, every day in the police uh, reporting that they would have manhunts, the dragnets,
Drag-
everywhere for Larry. But there he was, hidden until he decided he will surrender himself. So did you know he was going to surrender himself on the 18th day, Donald?
No, I didn't. No, I did.
All right. So now this is what I read, and you tell me if it's true. I read that he wrote a letter, even though he was not somebody who could read. He was not.
Oh, he can read.
Okay, well, they
He
said
can read.
thank you, because again, we're trying to get to the truth of the matter. They said that he could not read and write, but he wrote a letter and wanted to speak to a certain reporter. And that reporter, he wanted him on the scene while the police
John.
was, in order to negotiate with him that he could surrender himself without being shot. What say you?
That was correct. The reporter was John Johnson at the present time, and we all knew he was at my other sister's house where they found him when he surrendered.
Yeah.
But he did. He contacted FBI. They contacted the FBI, and that's when he surrendered. He would not surrender to New York alleged findings. He would not. He did not trust him. We did not trust him. My family did not trust him because they was threatening our lives as well if we didn't give him up. They even told my mother they'll kill him if we didn't give him up
Yes.
because he has to die
Now,
because of the knowledge that he had on the corrupt police officers.
yes. Let me do this going further to this story. I'm going to ask, will Barbara and Pastor Eddie, would you turn off your cameras for me? It's somewhat of a distraction. I appreciate you very much. So let me say this, Donald, that
Yes.
in the sense of him wanting to surrender, I read that it was a 24-hour ordeal, the police negotiator trying to get him to come out. Was that true too, that it was an overnight ordeal?
Yes, it was.
It was, all right? So
Yes.
now let's go to that. So he surrenders himself. And in him surrendering himself, they take him without harming him, because Larry understood that it was so many people around, the media and everything else, that that would be the reason that he could be unharmed as they take him. But now Larry mentioned their mother, and this will be so key going further. And it is something that should be a note for those of you who've ever had a run-in with the police. The lawyer who takes on the case of Larry's, he was deemed the most hated lawyer in America. His name, William Cutler. He,
Consular.
say that again?
William Consular.
Okay, yes. Thank you for helping me pronounce his name. He was deemed the most hated lawyer in America because he would defend many people that we know. People like Angela Davis, people like Martin Luther King. He had a roster of people that he would defend. Matter of fact, the right wing, he would not defend them. He was a Jewish man who became a lawyer by way of Yale in 1948. He definitely was into civil rights. So he took on your brother's case. Speak to us, how did that come to be that your brother got such a famous lawyer who took an interest in it?
Because I worked for him. Just a minute. My dog then got out the cage. I worked for William Consular when he took over the Attica riot, and I worked for him then. And he took over the Attica riot and won. Cash. Oh shoot. Just a minute. My dog got out the
While
yard.
you're getting your dog, let me speak to the audience more about this lawyer. The lawyer himself was a very interesting character himself. But when we say to people about who's non-Black and who's white, this is why it's just very important to understand what it is to be somebody that understands the different people in sense of what their interests are. Because him being a Jewish man, having an interest to fight for us. So many times you can hear people, call everybody white that's not Black. But the bottom line is you should know that there are real differences. There are people who got different interests to help a community. You cannot just lump everybody in a box. So to study out this man, it was many people that he would defend that was notoriously hated by America. So we're seeing that my guest is having an issue here. So the bottom line is, I just want to speak to you about the lawyer. But now, I don't know if you're able to hear me, Donald. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yes,
All
I
right.
can. I hear every word you say.
All right. Well, now let me go on to this. The lawyer that took the case, we just heard that Donald said he worked for him. In the meantime, what is the reason why Larry could be acquitted is the evidence that got stacked up against these officers. Like I said, he shot 6 of them, and yet none of them died, which is a good thing. But it's something that Larry's mother did that really got it all going in his favor. I read that the mother had been threatened by the policeman a month before any of this ever happened. So that would be October of 1986.
That's
Just
correct.
think how many of you, hold on, Donald, just think how many of you have had run-ins with the police, but you did not report it. It is what she did that created a paper trail. Listen, I desired to be a lawyer, Donald. And the first thing that I thought was, aha, was what your mother did. A month before it ever happened. Speak to that.
My mother, ooh, God bless the day. My mother, she always swept things under the rug. You threaten her, she don't see no. She had a vision too as well. You're not, you're not. What you say out your mouth to my mother like, okay, no problem. I got something for you. She protects herself. And she can detect that you are serious about whatever you're gonna do to her family. She gonna make a record. She gonna establish real probable cause why it happened, and she did that. She called people that church people. She called Al Sharpton. Sharpton was there. He was a good man. He still is a good man in my eyes. Al Sharpton, he supported us. He put it out there for us. He was letting everybody know this is what's about to happen to this family before. I mean, my mother she's blessed. Even in heaven right now, she's blessed. And she prays. She's a praying warrior. And she prayed that prayer that my brother did acquitted, and God heard her prayer because they knew he didn't do all this stuff that he was allegedly claimed to do.
Yes. Well, let me tell you, many of us, no matter what nationality one would be, we truly understand about having a praying mother. But your mother, she had wisdom on her side. And this is what I'm meaning. So many times we have problems with the law, but you don't report it. You come home, you tell your friends, you tell your family. But that paper trail that she started, let me tell you, that's just beautiful that what took place. It is that her being able to say the police used to come to my home and threaten me. Your brother, the write-up. At 15, I'm recruited by crooked cops to sell drugs. I now don't want to work for them. And so now he's being hassled along with his own thing that he does. Listen, I'm not making excuses for him. I'm not even trying to paint him as a good guy. I am truly speaking to you in order to understand the events. So for your mother to set that in motion a month before it happened, it's perfect. So when I say about acquittal, me, if I was that lawyer, that's like a diamond of information. Now, here's the other thing that I read regarding the case. The lawyer was able to make sure that people understand that the first gunshot was not done by Larry. The first gunshot was the police. He was able to get experts to speak to that. Speak to that, Donald.
Oh, that was a great. The technology was excellent. He had beamers, showing where the bullet hit the wall first, what gun was shot first. I mean, the, the, the technology that they used, the specialists that they used, he was awesome. And it came out at the end, the truth will be prevailed. And it was prevailed by the knowledge that these people brought to court. William Kunstler is no joke. God bless his soul. He's passed away. And besides, they had the Supreme Court justice, a black one that passed away. Besides him, I cried like a baby because I know William Kunstler. William Kunstler was my brother. He wasn't a lawyer. He was my brother.
Yes.
And he was he take on people cases that didn't have a dime. They didn't have a dime, and they was charged with multiple homicide, and he win. He took on the Attica riot in 1971 and won for us.
Yes, I know.
He was not to be messed with. He was a lawyer for the people that didn't have.
Yes. Come on now.
And I loved this man. I loved this man so much. A Jewish.
Yeah.
He was my brother.
But
He
see,
was my brother.
let me say to you, and I understand where you're coming from. He didn't defend anybody that I know. And let me tell you, I love him too, because that's the point that I made when you was running for your dog, chasing your dog. Too many times people who look like us, they throw everybody in a basket.
Right.
But you
That's right.
cannot throw everybody in a basket. You have to know. So he had his own convictions why he would help those who were oppressed, them that was hated. And so we
Right.
need to consider and stop throwing everybody into just one lump. No, no, no.
Right.
Know who you're talking about, because listen, the world, it is the same. It is the like passions of men that keep it going. But everybody is not for the little guy. And he was for the little guy. Now, somebody may argue, oh, he took Larry's case in order to build a name. He didn't need Larry to build a case. He was already known for working with great names and great causes. And that's why America deemed him the most hated lawyer in America. Who you think was hating on him? So
Let me, can I say this?
sure,
William, he wasn't only an attorney, he was an actor.
I know.
He was an actor in Life.
Yes.
He was the judge that sentenced Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. That's
Yes.
William Kunstler.
Yes.
To Life. You know?
Yes.
So I know William Kunstler. If he wanted a name, he had a name, a big name.
Yes.
He was no joke.
No, he was no joke. And for him to play the role that he did, I think it's fantastic. What's going to be packaged with this YouTube package that you and I are doing now is even an interview done by him with Dick Cavett, because he spoke on the case as well. So in my research, I learned those things as well. And like you said, being an actor, yes, he had a passion for acting as well. So, I mean, just a very colorful man, period, who was the mouthpiece for your brother. So, yes, I learned he died in 1995. So, these two pieces of information that I'm saying was evident that he brought to the light, that the mother had been threatening, your mother, Mary, had been threatened a month ahead of time. Then he had the gun information to know that Larry was not the first one to shoot first, but they were. So when you look at, they were the first ones to shoot at the 20-year-old that refused to keep selling drugs for them. But he said, if I'm going to sell, I'm going to sell for myself. And him being of the mindset that when he robbed folk, he robbed the dope dealer. I tell you, I don't understand why it's not a movie about him yet, because bits and pieces of his life is already in movies. So let's go on with the story because it gets worse from here. Go ahead,
As a matter
Donald.
of fact, they tried to, it's called Night Falls Over Manhattan. With Donald, I forgot the actor's name. They tried to repeat Larry. And I was watching a movie last night with Wesley Snipes, a lot of good actors, where they shot. Wesley Snipes is a detective in this movie, and his name is Davis. And they going after, no, not Wesley, yeah, Wesley Snipes. Yeah, Wesley Snipes, and the one that played the Black Panther. The Black Panther is the detective. His name is Davis. And he's hunting a cop killer that killed 6 cops. And I'm comparing the situation. I watched it like 4 or 5 times yesterday. And I'm saying this is about Larry, but they just flipping it all around.
Yeah, I've seen many movies that have Larry's story all in it, but I didn't
Yeah,
know of your brother. So
yeah,
now let's go on. So Larry surrenders. He negotiate to make sure that he is not shot because he felt like they would shoot him on sight because he knows that the police do not want him to, let their identity be known, whatever crooked band he was working with. So he gets acquitted for shooting white officers based on the brilliancy of this lawyer that we just spoke on. And then when you even spoke about the Black Panthers, this lawyer even defended them as well. So the
yeah,
bottom line is he had the grace of God that got
yeah.
him acquitted for that. So not only was he acquitted for that particular thing, he was acquitted a second time, another court case. Now you're talking about a man that got the favor to get away. Then how in the world what happened to him happened?
He got acquitted.
Can you speak to us about the second case that he was acquitted of as well, shooting
I
drug
believe
dealers?
he supposed to kill 25 drug dealers.
Yes.
And they found him not guilty of every one of them.
Yeah.
The only thing they found him guilty of is the weapons.
Yes.
That's it. And he got 5 to 15 for that.
Yes. Now,
And then, go
go
ahead, I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Then he got acquitted again. I think he got acquitted 4 times, back to back. And
Amazing.
the frustration of the police just seeing this, they came at the family again, threatening the family. The blowers, set a house on fire, uh, hurt my mother, you know, and hurt just caused confliction on my family. And this is why I'm in North Carolina now, because they chased me out of New York. Even after all those years, they kept coming. So I didn't have no peace even after his death. So my family, most of my family is going out of New York because police department chased them away.
Yes. Well, understandable to that regarding the whole lot of the circumstance. I read all these different accounts and I just thought how amazing could a Black young man at the times, 1986, in the Bronx, be acquitted like he was being acquitted. And there's nobody that could make me not believe that the grace of God was on him. What is the grace of God? It's favor. But the bottom line is why? Why would God not let this happen? It only God knows. Nobody can say exactly if he was a good guy, bad guy, did he do these killings, any of that. But just think, the laws are not set up for men who look like you, women who look like me. How could it be that this young man of 20 get acquitted for cases such as this? But at the end of the day, what happened is that they do get him on illegal gun charge. So they had to find something, and
No,
that was it.
that
So
was it.
your brother goes to a prison that is a very famous prison too, because it housed the son of Sam. Tell us about that prison. Did you ever go visit him?
I was in that prison.
Mm.
So when I was the when they started, when Larry gave himself up, they start before that, they started arresting my family. They put false charges on me of robbery, and I did 16 years for that.
You did.
And I was the first one to go because they depended on me to find Larry, bring him to Larry when the manhunt was out. So they see I was not participating in the activity and going to the places Larry was located. They said, he's no good to us. Take him off the screen. They put a robbery on him. I had 5 trials: mistrial, hung jury, mistrial, guilty verdict. They tried me till they found me guilty. By law, you only entitled to 3 trials, but I had 5.
Wow.
When Larry was actually taken in, we was all my brothers was locked up now, and they, for some reason, in these prisons, all the famous prisons that we was locked up in, all my brothers can go to the same prison Larry was in, except for me. When they brought Larry to my prison, the whole jail locked down. They couldn't have me and him together. When they brought me down for a court date, and Larry was in another truck going to the same court, they'll bring him upstairs. They'll bring him upstairs and put me like in the basement. That's how far we had to stay if we was in the same building. But all my other brothers, he can talk to them. They can never allow me and him to talk, or any of my other brothers. Any of my other brothers come to the prison I'm in, they lock the whole jail there. Put it on lockdown.
Mm.
And then remove my brothers from that prison once they realize I'm there.
Well, let me speak about that prison too, because at the time that Larry became one of its infinite inmates, it was just coming into full operations. It had been built to service another prison that was nearby. So it was a prison facility that was basically new. By the time Larry got into it, it was fully operating. And so that I found interesting as well. Okay, the prison that he would be in, and to find out that you, his brother, also was an inmate there. It is so heartfelt for me, because as you speak to many men of color, they know about these kind of experiences. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. So now let's go further, because there is a Q&A opportunity here, that people who would like to give feedback, people who would like to ask you a question, they're welcome to do so here. So Larry becomes an inmate at this prison, and of course, he do not live a quiet existence there based on what I read. He was in several fights, put in the hole several times. They show you where his hand and arm was in a cast at a particular time. And so for your brother, he would come to death by the way of Louis Rodasso or something like that. Louis Rosodo. I think I'm pronouncing it correct, but
I,
a
really,
Crip.
I don't know his real name, but they call
Okay,
him
well, I got his real
Yeah.
name. I got his real name for the simple fact, along with this packaging will be from his own words of how the killing happened. His name, Louis Rosado, Rosado. He was a member to the Crips, also known as Blue Boy. So it is he that I found the video that he describes how this happened, that your brother was murdered by him. What did the family go through in regards to how he died? 1991, he was age 41, listening audience, and he was stabbed to death by Blue Boy, the Crip member. What say you on this matter, Donald?
The way he described Larry passing away was untrue. He was paid by Correctional Officer Sergeant Nohab to murder my brother. And I know that for a fact. And
how do you know that for a fact?
If I was in court, I'd say I'd take the flip. But
okay,
that's not the, I know this for a fact. And I had dealings with this Sergeant Know-how. And this, he was ruthless. He was ruthless. They even had, before they killed him, they had a pistol by Blue Boy's cell. That's what it originally really supposed to kill him. But it was identified by another inmate. And he picked it up and started showing people. So that wasn't the plan no more. So Blue Boy went to the yard. Allegedly, Larry supposed to got in his business because Larry was protecting someone else that was interfering with Blue Boy killing him. Excuse me. And Blue Boy just took the contract to kill Larry. And that's the bottom line.
You know, let's say this. What reason today, and I'm asking you to educate me when I ask this question, what value could it have these many years later to not say that he was under contract? Because I heard his video and bits and pieces of what you just said is in it. He explains that that evening he comes out into the yard with the intent to kill another inmate. He says that's factual. That's why I came into the yard. He speaks about Larry being out there with the cane. Larry had been commissioned a cane for his ailments, that he now had a legal weapon that he could carry because it was deemed he needed a cane. And Blue Boy tells the story that he went to cause the death of another, that your brother then says that is not going down today. And so he claims that your brother hit him with the cane and he stabbed him once and went chasing after the inmate that he came there for. And in that chasing back and forth, he was not able to capture who he had targeted. And so then he claims that your brother came back again, hitting him with the cane, and that's when it became fatal, that he was actually fighting Larry off. And the stabbings, even he said he did 25 times. So what would the value be not to be able to say at this late date? Because again, Blue Boy is now back in prison as of last year, based
Thanks,
on my research.
thanks to me.
Pardon me?
Thanks to me.
You have something to do with why he's back in prison as of last year?
Thanks to me.
Now, let me say this. Anytime you could be here and you speak like that, why would not Blue Boy say he was under contract and it not be the way he explained it on YouTube? This is public knowledge on YouTube.
Okay. The reason why he won't say he was under contract, that's saying I work for the police. And being in a prison, you can't work for a police. You die. So he'll never say that.
Because a part of his life is going back and forth to prison.
Exactly.
Okay, so the
And he
prisoners
won't-
themselves would not treat him well based on knowing that information.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
He would die. And he would, I'm surprised he ain't dead yet. But just by killing Larry, mark my words, this is a prayer. This is something that keep coming to my head. He's gonna die in jail. He's gonna die in jail by the hands of another prisoner. Why? Because Larry was loved by. When he was found not guilty, every prison in the state of New York went up. They praised him. It went worldwide in the state of New York in prison. And they was, if you would have seen, they was throwing toilet paper, tearing up the bed, everything when they said not guilty. The prison, but not one prison. Every prison in the state of New York went up on flames. I kid you not. Larry was loved by inmates, even though they knew working for police is a no-no. But what he did to those that was no good,
Yeah.
they was infatuated. They had adrenaline of joy when Larry was found not guilty. And for Blue Boy to sit there and say, this is the reason, he's giving a reason.
Yes.
Like he didn't mind his business and he tried to hurt me, so I put him out his misery. No, that's not the case. He did it for the police. That's who he did it for.
Yes.
He knew Larry was a threat. He knew Larry had information on the surviving police officers and judges and senators. He knew. So Larry had to go.
Yes.
And it didn't matter how much it took. That was not the reason. Blue Boy is giving lies to justify for his long-lasting life left in prison, where he won't be attacked.
Well, I like that you explained it for my benefit as to what value that would have today, because I know the trial cannot be retried, but I understand perfectly what you're saying, that if that's your reality, if that's where you still live and deal, then you have to take that to your grave. That would be very understandable. So your brother dying in 1991, age 41, was your mom still living?
No, she wasn't.
I don't think so.
Yes. So now how do you deal with, and again, you're educating me. When you have a family member that dies in prison, do the family then take care of their funeral arrangements, or are they awarded to the state because they die in that state of being? What happened in regards to your brother's funeral arrangements?
They give you a call late at night, whatever, when he's found dead, or when the doctor declare him dead. They give him a call, give you a call, and say your son's passed away. This is how he was passed, how he passed away.
Yeah.
Would you come get his body? And we make arrangements to send it to a funeral home, in our location, and we take care of the funeral arrangements from there.
I see. So that's how that takes place. You
Yes,
know,
exactly.
when we live by the gun, it's just a no-brainer. Most times you die by violence as well. You know, we know that Larry had a daughter. At the time all this was happening in 86, I think my write-up says she was 1 year old. Is that correct, that the daughter was 1 at the time?
If that's his daughter, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we don't have to question around that. But yes, they give all this information as to who his girlfriend was at the time, Melody. And so that he also had a baby that was 1 year old. So at the end of the day, when we talk about your brother, the story is horrific. It really is. It is a horrific event that happened around the life of a young Black man, 20. But I think it's mind-blowing to be acquitted so many times in an era then as well as now, that the law is not set up for women who look like you and me to beat the system. And so I know he was beloved, considered a hero, because, hey, the man didn't get him until the man did get him. I'm going to ask people here if they have any feedback or any questions that they would like to say, that they're welcome to do so now. You know, earlier today, Donald, let me apologize to you. We had people with their cameras on, and that being the case, I find it, a little distracting. So I hope that was not for you either. But at this point, I would like anybody who would have feedback or question, please do. Turn on your camera and speak to us. Hello, Pastor. Pastor Eddie Justice Jones. Let me tell you something about him before he would speak, whatever he would speak to you. Is that Pastor Jones, he is a civil rights leader for us too. He has a weekly talk show, and he has the passion for people who are oppressed and fighting the powers that be as well. He's very much concerned, just like the lawyer that defended your brother. So, Pastor Eddie, how are you today? Do you have any feedback or a question that you have for my guest today, Donald?
Well, first of all, Donald, that is an amazing historical story. And I commend you for sharing. And I also, let me give you a big shout out, Sister Cheryl. God bless you and all the work that you're doing as well. But Brother Donald, first of all, I want to ask you, I want to say this first. Please reach out to Mr. Denzel Washington at your convenience. Call his office, find a way to get in contact with him, because this is the biggest movie that has not been shown on American television or anywhere in the world.
I
And this
tell
this
you
is
what
so
happened. Why don't you do that for me, and I'll give you my number, and you tell him to get in touch with me. Because
Okay, well,
that's one person I wanted him to respond to me on. It's a lot of individuals that's making raps about Larry and trying to partake little bits and pieces and put it in their rap song, which is beautiful. I don't discriminate against them, speaking highly of my brother and what he did. But I agree with you. If I had a way to get in touch with anyone in the industry that I reached out to a couple of people that made songs about him, but they never got back to me.
well, let me just take your number. I can't make any rash promises that I can't keep, but I will do some research.
Well,
What's
let
your
me
number?
do this. Let me do this about the number. I will put his phone number in the chat for you,
The
not
chat.
this chat, but on Facebook privately.
Okay.
I'll do that between me and you today, Pastor. But do
Yeah.
you have anything further you want to say to Donald?
Yes, I do. Donald, could you explain the Muslim name Hakeem? Could you tell us why he carried a Muslim name and what it meant to his journey in life? And I want to also say the police used him in a corrupt way, but he was intelligent and intellectual enough and had enough genius to know how to battle with these crooked police officers, and that is unheard of in the
Yes.
history of dealing with the police department. And I commend him, not because he was a criminal, not because he was, I commend him for his wisdom, his knowledge, and his intelligence on how to combat crooked police officers, because I've dealt with a lot of that in a lot of different shootings that have taken place over the years. Sandra Brand, Michael Brown, I can name so many more, but he did it in a way when it wasn't popular in the 1980s, and
Absolutely.
and
Right.
he did it with courage and dignity and integrity, and he used the right attorney who had an agenda to show that all African American men are not the criminals that they paint them out to be at that time. So, with that being said, could you please make it explanatory what his Muslim name meant?
Yes.
Um, from my understanding, sir, wait a minute. From my understanding, Adam is the first person that was on the planet, from my understanding. And that's his name, Adam Abdullah Hakim. And Abdullah means brother in Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
So the first brother
Yes.
to do what Larry does.
Wow.
That's what it means.
And the Hakeem, what does that mean?
Hakim, I don't want to mislead you.
Yes.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله حكيم الوسيم الدين العالمين Joaquin. I'm not sure, sir.
All
That
right.
Okay,
one, I'm not sure on that one. And I don't want to
Donald,
miss.
well, Donald, I
Larry,
want
forgive me, I keep getting him mixed up with his brother. You know, I appreciate you saying what you know and what you don't. And so one thing that I like that Pastor Eddie has done for me is that he brought to light that when he was in prison, that he did change his name, which happens so often to Black men that go to prison. And of course, we don't know who did it first, but they have gotten that lead from when our beloved, you know who I'm trying to speak of, when he went to and he changed his name. So
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali, not only he, but someone else too that I was trying to speak of that is
Malcolm
accepting. Say who?
Malcolm
Yeah,
X.
thank you. Thank you. That's exactly where I was going with that, Pastor.
I was going to say Denzel.
Well,
but
no. Pastor Ed just spoke to what I was trying to say. So that
Right.
seems to be something that happens quite a bit. So I just want to thank Pastor Eddie for bringing to light about the name change, because that really did happen.
And
Pastor, do
sure,
you have one more thing? And then I'd like to move on to someone else.
yeah, last thing is I want everybody to see what this young man looked like because
I will
there's a
be
few.
having all that wrapped with this package.
Okay, there's a
So he's showing you a shot from his phone, but you all who have been here today, if you will watch the package of this, once I package it for YouTube, there will be a video showing you his life along with it. But I wanted to give it to his brother first before I actually post what I have put together. So I thank you, Pastor Eddie. As always, you're beautiful, and I love how you're knowledgeable about these different cases. So thank you for being here with me today. All right, there's two other ladies that's showing along here with me. So which one of you want to open your mic and give feedback or ask a question? I see Sheila and I see Alexandra. Which one of you? Sheila. Okay. Sheila, what say you and to
Hi,
our guest today?
hi, good morning. I'm sitting here with the chills. Um, because this story actually can go further than your brother and it can come up till today because these things are still happening to our young people. And when you were talking about the guy blue, I got a chill on that too to say, yeah, don't say anything because that line can still be, you know what I mean? And I said, well, shoot, don't say anything because we don't know who's listening. You get what I'm saying?
Sure.
Um, but yeah, your mom sound awesome, and to have a
Word.
praying mom, I know what that's like too. But my question to you, you said when you would go to the jail or the courts, they would keep you guys separated. Why was that? Are you the oldest of them, or would they consider you a big ringleader of some sort?
Let me, what I didn't share with you when this happened in 1986, I was the one that they arrested first before they arrested Larry. Like I said, they didn't need me no more. They seen I wasn't gonna bring them to them, so they arrested me for robbery and brought me to the Ku Klux Klan's land, Suffolk County. I was in the Bronx. They arrested me in the Bronx, and they brought me all the way to Suffolk County and said I stole a car from a lady, and her property was in it, so that's considered robbery, not auto theft. Cool, let that be the fact. In the process of being arraigned, and Larry was out there, they cut out the lights in the courtroom and screamed out, Larry Davis coming to get his brother. Well, I was heavily armed by officers with shotguns, machine guns, and and they had the helmets on. This is how they took me to court. Like I shot 6 officers. That's how they treated me. And when they cut out the lights, I seen the district attorney go under the table. I seen my lawyer go under the table. I seen the judge go under the bench. And all the the court guards went to the side. I looked around and I seen under the door of when you enter the courtroom, the lights was on. So when I seen all of that, I immediately went under the table with my lawyer. That's when machine guns went out. Da 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 da. In my area, I was supposed to die there. I was supposed to die or in public, on the news, in front of everybody, the world, that Larry Davis came. This would have been the story. Davis came to get his brother and gunshot fired. Larry Davis' brother got hit. He was dead. That's the end of the story. It was never supposed to be no trial with me, but I had 5 trials. They tried me till they found me guilty.
Yes, you had made a statement, that statement earlier that said they had tried you until they found you guilty. So, it's keep trying until we can make something
Exactly.
stick. And that definitely was the case in regards to your brother.
Devil,
Again, what I wanted to be known here is that I am not holding up violence. I am not celebrating criminal activity, but we as a people truly understand how the law have been stacked against people that look like us. And at the end of the day, when you summarize his life, when you have listened to his brother today, when you would go and watch different recordings regarding this, it is just astounding to see the evidence that was stacked up against him when he decided, hey, listen, I no longer want to work for the crooked cops. And what happened thereafter? It is amazing. And so today you're listening to the brother of Larry Davis, Donald Davis. He is telling it from his understanding, his perspective, his experience. And I am privileged to hear him on this platform speaking to them who would come and listen. So I have one more person here who wants to give feedback or ask a question, and that's Alexandria. Alexandra, what say you?
What I want to say, thank you for having the courage to even come on, to cancel out all the lies and allow the truth to reign. That's how you know God is doing something great in this season. He do it in his time and in his season, and this must be the season for the truth to come out. So I want to thank you for that most of all.
welcome.
But you are based. I see what I'm seeing is this is a testimony of God. Grace never left your brother. It was a story that God needed to be told.
Come
It was
on.
an example. He used your brother as an example of how great he is.
Yeah.
You don't nobody know the relationship your brother had with God, but you said y'all was raised up in the church. So
That's
God heard his prayers, and God always made a way out for him. And a lot of great apostles and prophets died at the age of 41 and young. Didn't mean grace left them. You know what I'm saying? It meant that they left this crooked world.
Yes.
He said, lay not our treasures upon this earth. So I just want to thank you for coming on for one. And I live in Ohio. And Ohio is the truck stop point for drugs to go all across America. We're really the area where everybody, like California, a lot of stars that came to Ohio to pick up their drugs. So I already know how crooked the cops is, how the system is set up against the Black community.
Yes.
So basically, this is my question. After everything that happened, I mean, as you look back over all these years, you look back and you replay it over and over and over again, because I know you have.
Oh, yes, I have.
What basically, what message have you received out of it? Because what I received out of it again today is we need not to lean to our own understanding. We need to acknowledge God in all our ways, and He shall direct our path and protect us. So that's what I'm thankful I came on.
Stop. I only got one eye and you scratching that out.
So I want to know, what is the great message that you received that's just the root of the foundation of the rest of your life now?
Beautiful, Alexandra. I love this question.
Whoa, that's deep. You. If I was still in a wheelchair, I'd give you a standing ovation from a wheelchair. The things you just hit me with is so deep, man. I mean, what did I get out of it? What y'all don't know is, oh, I can't say that. My own life, the reason, somebody asked me, why did they keep us separated? Because of my background. My background wasn't a good background either. I think I was the son of Satan, and to me, I did stupid stuff as a child. I had no sense of morals of 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 respecting the living or the dead. It didn't bother me. I didn't know what death was. I didn't realize what death was. But looking at it now, it taught me to get stronger, to acknowledge what's right and what's wrong, which I had no sense of that when I was a kid. I sold drugs for police as well. And he only went through what I went through. The only thing I didn't do was blow their head off when it was time. But my brother, Larry, now I look at it, I miss him so much because me and him was one of a kind. Out of all my brothers, me and Larry hung out the most. That's the only, matter of fact, I'm the only one brother he hung out with. He cherished me. I cherished him. We had fun. He liked it to ride motorcycles. And those are the things that I look at. But looking at the negative or the cops and stuff like that, right now, when I went to prison for so many wrong things. And I did 27 years. And during those 27 years, you know, I'm looking at the beginning. I went through a bus windshield. I was paralyzed for 27 years. I was in a coma for 2 years in prison. You know, as they was taking me to prison, I went through a bus windshield, land through the ladies' windshield. When we hit the car, the windshield in the front that the lady was sitting in chopped her head off, and it landed in the back seat with me. When I woke up 2 years later, I was classified as a paraplegic. I had no feeling. I stayed in a wheelchair in a hospital for over 5 years, maybe 7 years, trying to get myself back together, you know, being where I was. My mental capacity was fuzzy. It had no memory. But as God seeing me laying there in all those years, he put hands on me. And when they said I would never walk again, I testified today that I can kick a person's head off today. And I got hit came home. I was classified as having an IQ of 70, retarded, after coming out that coma. But today, as I speak, I'm one of the best paralegals in the state of New York, which honored me by the Supreme Court of the United States. The same people that put square presidents into office stipulated that I am one of the best paralegals in the state of New York. And I always had knowledge for the law, and I'm good at it. As we speak, I have over 14 pending cases concerning the New York Police Department. I had a hearing yesterday that lasted me 9 hours as a complainant. I'm suing them for over 6.3 million. I'm partially paralyzed on the side because of their harassment and abuse. And I'm suing them for wrong arrest. You know, I got like 10 of those in. Wrong arrest. I was found not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. And they gotta pay for their wrongdoing. And my thing is that my brother used a pistol. I use a pen. And I am fighting till this day, 30, 40 years later, till this day, for justice, for all of us. Because when I put in documentation, lawyers like William Consular, grab my document under 42 U.S.C. 1983, which you're entitled to file a claim against any correctional officer, any police officer, any government agency under that statute, and they can be held liable.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start taking their toys away, that they fight so hard to corrupt your children to get those toys, then you shut them down. You
Yes.
shut them down. I had them commit suicide, taking their pigs, taking their horses, their sheep, their houses, their motorcycles, their cars, and then they put a gun to their head. If I can't live with, if he gonna take it, I'll kill myself. You know how white folks talk. I'll do you, the kids, and everybody, but black people don't talk like that. They don't do
Yeah.
that. So they blow their head off. Good, that's on them. I mean, if that's what devil tell you to do, you go right ahead. But I'm
All
not gonna
right.
blow my head off. I'm gonna confiscate all your toys, and I'm gonna make sure you don't hurt no other black little kid in my neighborhood or try to convince them to sell drugs because you won't have no drugs to sell,
All
or
right.
a light,
Let
or a
me,
light, or a bag.
okay. So let me say this, and sorry to interrupt you as well, but we sure got the gist of the passion that you have regarding this subject matter and the ongoing fight. I want to thank Alexandra for her question to you, because not only was she asking what is the message today, but we hear from your responses, Donald, that it's ongoing. It's ongoing, and that you got a passion to help others that this not happen to them. So, Alexandra, thank you for your question. All right. Sheila, I thank you for your question as well, because she asked, why would they have you all separated? Well, of course, they would have you all separated because you were brothers and don't want you to get together and collaborate on subject matter that, no, they know that it is best to keep you separated than have unity when they were trying to separate that. So I appreciate your question as well. I see that Sheila and Pastor Eddie have their hands up. I want to take their next questions, but then I want to bring it to a close. So let's go back to Pastor Eddie. What feedback would you have now?
Well, I just want to say, Donald, be incognito and very discreet at this time, because with artificial intelligence, they can see you through your TV, your cell phone, anything you have electronically, they're already connected to you. And trust me, um, there's a movie out with Will Smith called Enemy of the State. And it just shows
Oh,
you how easy it is for them
yeah.
to follow you, for them to listen to you, for them to watch you. And just be very mindful, security wise, of your well being, of your health, and everything else, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to wait you out. And so stay as healthy as you can, stay as vigilant as you can, and stay as safe as you can, so that you can get the outcome of what you're looking for in this very important case.
Yeah, great advice. Thank you for that, Pastor.
Um, I would like to make a comment on that, Pastor. I was in that movie, Enemy of the State, and yeah, I was in it as a
Extra.
extra, and it was a good movie. And the technology they had in that movie was awesome. It was
Yeah.
awesome. And you're right. You're absolutely right. And I've been watching my back. I'm in North Carolina. I'm from the Bronx. I'm in North Carolina, Thomasville, North Carolina. And I, as a paralegal, what I do for a living, you know, I I don't know what it is. If it's God helping me with this, it got to be. But I cover my grounds. I mean, they've been watching me for so many years. Why? Because I used to work with Nicky Barnes. Like I said, I sold drugs, and I used to work with Nicky Barnes. I used to pay off the police. Um, uh, shining shoes. I was shining shoes and have stacks of money in my shoebox, and I give it to the police, and they don't bother the drug dealers no more.
Okay.
So I know as a person, as a kid, as a child, raised in that formality, in that area where they're always watching you, always, you get paranoid. And I'm not going I can't say I'm not paranoid because I was raised that way. To me, that's a way of life. To me.
Mhm.
And to me, I'm not doing any wrong. I'm not out there doing wrong like I used to be when I was into that light.
Yeah.
I'm doing what's positive. You catch if you gonna film me, you're gonna film me going into a court. That's where you gonna film me. And then what you gonna do then? You gonna say I was somewhere else and I got video that I'm at such and such meeting or hearing at such and such. I hold deeply, I hold that, and I pray that nothing happened to me. I'm 63 years old. I'm going on 64. I didn't expect to live this long, but God is looking over me and He's allowed me to punish those who are so corrupt. I mean, I've been successful on the 386 cases. I have been successful in taking them down. I haven't lost not one yet. And I'm not even an attorney. I
Yes.
go in pro se and I tear them up.
Yes.
Brother Donald, I just want to say this in closing. Not only are you fighting for you and your mother and your family, but you're also fighting for Larry. You're fighting for Larry too. And Larry, hallelujah, in the spirit is inside your heart. So everything you're doing is not in vain. You're doing the work of God. You're finishing off what Larry started. And
All
I
right.
commend you and may God bless you.
Amen.
Hello.
Thank you. Donald, we're
Thank
going to go to Sheila and then we're going to bring it to a close. Again,
Okay.
Pastor, I thank you so much. And if you would turn your feed off for me, just your camera. Sheila, I now need your comments. And then when you finish, if you would turn your feed off too, I appreciate it.
Okay. I just kind of now want to piggyback on Pastor Eddie, what he told him and said to him. I agree. But while I was, when I raised my hand initially, wanted to come back here and say, not only did we need his brother's story, but I feel he needs to tell his too. And he should get his on pen and paper also.
Mhm.
So by him giving us the story behind his brother, his story also needs to be told. And I'm going to continue to pray for him because the
Yeah.
system is something. The system is something, but only God knows why he uses certain people for certain things.
Come on.
And I'm really beginning to come to that understanding about that. So, yes, stay safe, stay strong, but also get your story out too.
Hello.
Beautiful.
I just did.
Yes, he did. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you so much. Donald,
Thank
I
you.
give you the last words, but I want to summarize the circumstance up that today, Donald Davis, the brother of Larry Davis, spent the time on this platform speaking to me and to others. What happened? What was the heart behind the young man that it happened to, as well as giving us light, shedding light on how he too lived and what he's doing today. But when Alexandra asked you, what would you say to sum up where you are? We learned that it's ongoing for you. But when I listen to the story, it even makes me think on OJ's story. It's nothing in the same of selling drugs. It is nothing about living in the Bronx. But what it reminds me of is it highlights a mother. It highlights a mother. In the sense of OJ, we didn't hear his mother speak one time, but we know she was in the back making the adjustment, the change in prayer. She is the person who took that burden so much in prayer that changed things. In regards to your brother's circumstance, for your mother to start a paper trail, that people need to walk away from here. Next time you have a run-in with the police, report it. That lawyer was able to go and tell them, listen, look in your calls, and you can see that the mother of this young man have told you a month before it ever happened. They're coming in and threatening her. The shootout hadn't happened. That is so important, that paper trail. And the things that we learned that just stacked and stacked the evidence to cover him. So when Alexandra asked you, God's grace definitely was on him. Definitely on him. And as Sheila said, who's to say why? But you are left now to tell the story. You are left now to make things right that's wrong in the circumstance. And so we support where you are. We thank you for coming on today. I will also say what Pastor says, even though you said, listen, I've been winning all these cases and I'm not afraid to speak. Wisdom, let it be your guide, because this is the year 2024, the year of the open door, and that has been covered, that's been buried, have had light shed on it. So you are doing that for us, that you're introducing the story to many of us. You're making some of us who knew of it but wasn't really privy to these details, you're making them aware of it too. So Donald, as we say goodbye today, I want you to say to us what you're leaving us with as your farewell to this platform today. What say you as we close regarding your brother and your life?
Well, that's a lot. All I have to do is say, look out for your children, pay attention to their behavior, and making sure, that how I said in one movie, stranger danger. It doesn't mean a man is walking up on your child. It can be the police walking up on your child trying to give him drugs. And pay attention to what he wears. Little 14-year-old kid come in the house with a pair of brand new Jordans and he ain't got no job. That's noticeable. So you must pay attention to your children at a young age, especially when your eye's not on them all the time. So when they come in the house and they acting ghetto and saying words like, yo man, lay me with a couple of those bricks. And you start hearing stuff like that. You gotta keep in mind, where did he hear this from? Where is he receiving this information from? You gotta pay your kids. My main object to those out there is to pay attention to their children and make sure they don't fall in this trap of corruption with these police officers or anybody. It can be their friend and the kid next door. I work for Captain Smith. We making money now. Oh, you want to get down with us? No. Give them some guidance. Talk to your kids. That's all I have to say relating to that. But as far as my brother is concerned, he did what he had to do. He survived. He's still surviving today within me. And he still speaks to those police officers through me and any other police officer that's corrupt, and you continue to be corrupt, eventually you're going to run into me. And that's the bottom line. I fear no one but God.
Yes.
And even the inmates in the worstest prisons I've been in used to tell me, yo, man,
And I never screamed at them, disobeyed the direct order, anything like that. But they see how the police feared my paperwork. They feared me. I was in a wheelchair and I go to the yard and they used to catch tickets not to search me. I'm not searching Mr. Davis. He'll never say I pushed him out that wheelchair. You know, they feared me, and the inmates seen it, and they used to say to me, Davis, they gonna kill you. You keep suing them, they gonna kill you in here. God made it a way that I made it out. I had 375 years to life. Ain't nowhere in the world I should be on this platform today. But God is my witness that I'm here by the grace of God. I'm here.
Yes, you are. Yes. You know, I thank you for spotting me out on Facebook. I thank you that you trust me with you today. I thank you for holding up the bloodstained banner that happened to your brother. So many times things happen and family members, friends, they just remember it, but it's not their march for the rest of their life. And so I really salute you for carrying this banner regarding him. You know, we always talk about how Black people protest, but the story is so horrific about your brother that the police at that time, they were the one that was carrying signs and protesting against. They could not believe your brother got acquitted as many times as he have. So we have not seen the police in my time walking around protesting about a criminal. So your brother really was a folk hero to the people who understood, hey, listen, this is a real thing. It really does happen. I had one guest as I get ready to say goodbye to you. She can recall when police came to her community in Compton with the trunk full of products for the gang members to sell in her community. So it's a real thing. So again, 1986, World War year. My world was very far from the things and the likes of what Larry was about. But over time, have I learned that I may have an understanding about the struggle. And so my guest today, Davis, Donald, the brother to Larry, him telling the story, us revisiting the case. I know you found it noteworthy because for this family, no matter what they have gone through, if you can't see God's hand in it, that means you don't know God. Only
right.
He judges who goes to heaven, who goes to heaven. But we cannot put in a box. Why he does what he does, we do not know. But for Larry, I'm so glad that Donald is making sure that he do not and did not die in vain. So today, thank you, those of you who came to the Thinking Woman's Mitch podcast. It's done on Saturdays, not every Saturday, but once I get a guest, I want to shed light on them that people may know what they're about and what they're doing. So Donald, blessings to you and your family. May you win whatever case that you are putting forth before the state of New York. May you be found favorable in the things that you're doing. So I will keep in contact with you and talk to you even later today. And I'll make sure that Pastor Ed gets your phone number because you said it's okay to give him, right? So
Please
I
do
will
that.
do that today. So thank you. And we're going to say goodbye for now. And for those of you who came, once again, thank you for spending the time with me and my guests today. And I'll see you around here again. And don't forget, this packaging will have other things in it. But I want to first share it with Donald before I share it with YouTube. So take care of yourself. And thank you, Donald.
You're welcome so much. You have a blessed day.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Once again.